Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another encouragement from the Psalms. Today we're looking at Psalm 29, and it's a bit of a fascinating one. Most commentators think that it was inspired by David looking at a huge storm, and he begins just in his mind to think about how God is a bit like that storm. In fact, one of the commentators, a guy called Boyce, he says that this psalm would have been read to children and to all ages during thunderstorms, just to give them a sense of peace and of God being in control. So hopefully for us it gives us that sense as well. It begins like this: ascribe to the Lord, O heavenly beings. Ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. I guess ascribe means basically to give. To ascribe something to somebody just means to recognize it in them or give them it. And it says here, ascribe to the Lord, O heavenly beings. So who are being asked to give this? Well, depending on what translation you go to, it could either mean that David's kind of speaking to the angels, ascribe to the Lord, angels, or it could be the most important people on earth, is also another suggestion, because the real kind of translation is those sons of God or sons of might. So some important people or angels are being told to give God something. And what do they want? What does David want them to give God? Ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. So he wants them to give God glory and strength. Now here's the really important point. You can't really give God anything, but what you can do is you can recognize something about him and give him praise for it. So ascribe to the Lord, recognize in the Lord, proclaim of the Lord his glory and strength. Angels, important people, whoever, that's what the encouragement is. Ascribe to the Lord the glory due his name. Okay, again, all the things that are true of the Lord's name and who he is and what his character is, give him glory for that. And remember, glory is the word kavod in Hebrew, which means weight. And in these days, important people, where their status was judged by the weight of their possessions. So we're giving God the weight that he is due because of his character. And then it says, worship the Lord in the splendor of holiness. If you think about that, well, ascribe to the Lord glory and strength, ascribe to the Lord the glory due his name, are both kind of mental assents and maybe even verbal kind of assent as well, about how glorious he is, recognizing his glory and his strength and his weight. But now it says, worship the Lord in the splendor of holiness. Here's the problem. In the 21st century, worship for us can be just thinking about how glorious he is, or it can be maybe verbally speaking out or singing something of how glorious he is. But for the Hebrew person, this word worship, which is actually hishtakavu, isn't that good? Hishtakavu, it means to bow down. So worship was very much a physical response to bow down. So you mentally assent, verbally assent, but now you physically show God that you think he is glorious and strong. And you do so in the splendor of holiness. And again, this is said, another translation is, or in holy attire. So it's actually, that you're physically, even what you're wearing, worship him. Give him his reverence, give him his due in every way, mental, verbal, and now physical. Give him his due. And then David just sort of points out why this God is so strong and so glorious. He uses this phrase, the voice of the Lord, I think 8 times here. The voice of the Lord is over the waters. Now, the waters for the Hebrew people were the greatest places to be feared. They were terrified of waters. Even their ultimate monster was called the Leviathan, which was like a sea creature. And they were terrified of the waters. But the voice of the Lord is over. He's bigger than the waters. He's bigger than the chaos of the seas. The voice of the God of glory thunders. His voice is like thunder. The Lord over many waters. He's over all the chaos. Now think of that in the chaos of our world today. He's over all the chaos. And the voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is full of majesty. The voice of the Lord, and this is where we get to some really strong imagery. If you think about a storm, a lightning storm, the voice of the Lord breaks the cedars. The Lord breaks the cedars of Lebanon. These cedars of Lebanon were like almost kind of infamous for their strength and their size and their power, but his voice just snaps them like twigs. He makes Lebanon to skip like a calf and Syrian like a young wild ox. This isn't too relevant, but it just made me laugh that in the old King James version, they mistranslated young wild ox as unicorn. I think my daughter would have much preferred that translation. But like a young wild ox, the voice of the Lord flashes forth flames of fire. The voice of the Lord shakes the wilderness. The Lord shakes the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of the Lord makes the deer give birth, strips the forest bare. Like, what is the point of all this? It's incredibly powerful. The voice of the Lord is incredibly powerful, destructively, creatively, in every possible way, over our greatest fears, like over the waters, in every single way. The voice of the Lord is just powerful. But remember that image again, of this being read to people during a thunderstorm or a time of real fear. It says, and all in his temple cry, glory. And I suppose it's a big question for us. Is the voice of the Lord something that makes us just cry out glory? Is the voice of the Lord for us still a thunderstorm? Like, it's really important that we lean into the gentle whispers of God. We lean into the friend that is Jesus. We lean into that, but we also must hold in tension the fact that our God is strong and powerful, and his voice is defining. I wonder, are we people that cry glory when we think about God speaking? And if we really see God's voice as that glorious, I want to encourage you, you need to open this book. Okay, you need to open this book, because this is often the megaphone through which God speaks. So open it up and listen to his powerful voice that might strip your life bare, or it might bring something to birth for you. But whatever it does, whether it needs to strip or give you something beautiful, it's always good, and it's always, in all things, him working for your good. So open this book and listen to him. The Lord sits enthroned over the flood. The Lord sits enthroned as the King forever. Folks, just hear that. Over this world flooded with stories of coronavirus and flooded with all of the stories you're hearing. Remember, he sits enthroned over the flood, and he's enthroned as King. When? Forever. Forever. And finally, I love this. May the Lord give strength to his people, and may the Lord bless his people with peace. I love this, folks. To see in the midst of the storm that we're in at the moment, in this storm right now, here's two things that we can pray and expect this powerful God to do. We can expect him to give strength to us, that same strength that broke the trees, the same strength that's stripped the oaks, the same strength that brought about all these incredible, thundering, wonderful things. That same strength he can give to us in this season. And equally as good, he can also give us peace. Isn't that incredible? We have a God that has got the strength to do all these incredible things, but he can also give us peace. So folks, I pray, may you today know the strength of God, his glorious, glorious strength, but also may you know his quiet, gentle, loving peace. And I pray all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.